Welcome Exiles! In the last video, we started our Winter Orb journey. We blasted the campaign, abused some blighted maps, swapped to Crit Occultist, and earned our Voidstones back, with some insane RNG alongside them. In this video, we want to upgrade a few of our uniques to corrupted fancy versions, do some clever little tricks with our passive tree, and level up a little bit as we farm some more currency. And if you like Herald of Ice explosions, then strap in, because this video's got a lot of them. We do actually have a little bit of currency left over from the last video, so I think we can get right into the clever passive tree trickery. We'll start by buying an Impossible Escape with the Pain Attunement roll, as well as an Elegant Hubris with the Caspero roll, and the number 147960. This is a really good roll jewel for this build, and honestly, chances are it will probably get bought out and go way up in price since it's been in a YouTube video. This tends to happen with timeless jewels, so I'd suggest looking up Fubgun's video on how to search for timeless jewels, and find an Elegant Hubris of Caspero that goes in this slot, as at least one frenzy charge on hit node, and then a few other good nodes. Primarily, damage per power charge and damage per frenzy charge, but attack block, quick multi, and mana reservation are all decent too. We can socket the Impossible Escape into the dual socket to the right side of a tree, which allows us to allocate passives near the Pain Attunement keystone without having to path to them. The circle here indicates the range of where I can freely allocate. Then, I can take this dual socket just underneath Pain Attunement. Sadly, I still need to path to this since the Impossible Escape jewel only lets me freely take passive skills, and a dual socket isn't considered a passive skill. Then, I'll put my Elegant Hubris in there. This will change all the small passives in the area into nothing, and change all the major passives into extremely powerful nodes. And because I bought a Caspero roll, it's turned Pain Attunement into Supreme Ostentation, which means I gain no benefits from Strength, Dex or Int. But I also now have no Strength, Dex or Int requirements from any of my gear or gems. The number on the jewel determines what all the notable passives are turned into, which is why this number was so important to us. This specific number in this position gives us two 10% damage per power charge nodes, two 12% attack block nodes, although one requires pathing to, and finally it gives us 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit, meaning that we now have a reliable way to generate frenzy charges for extra cast speed and damage. I want to keep trying new currency strats with these videos, so we're going to be doing some harvest using a harvest scarab of doubling, 2 scarabs of monstrous lineage, 2 cheap sack frags, and a fruiting astrolabe. I'm running this strat on 60% pack size maps that I bought for around 33 chaos each. Now normally, you'd farm harvest using crop rotation, but with the new astrolabes and the huge buffs that they give, it's actually pretty good to just not bother with that, and just run the harvest normally, especially with Mirages being so good with harvest. All I can do is test it myself and see how it feels. The Atlas trees, as well as a brief explanation of all the strats that I'm doing in these videos, are in the description of each video. I'll also often try to link another creator's video who's done a much better job at fully explaining a strat so you can understand everything properly. We're also running this strat on Jungle Valley. The boss of Jungle Valley doesn't technically exist until you've fought through a few waves in the boss arena. So, when eldritch altars spawn and offer you bonuses, you can't actually be offered any final boss drops X loot rewards, since the game doesn't know there's a boss yet. This makes getting quant altars more likely, which is a huge buff to our harvest juice profits. Each map basically consists of me full clearing the map, skipping the boss room and clicking every quant altar that I see. Then I'll do the harvest, prioritizing yellow juice, which is by far the most expensive, and then blue juice, which is a bit more expensive than purple, which is the cheapest. Then we can do the Mirage if there's a harvest inside of it, and if not, just check it anyway in case you get offered a fight with Ridan or something. It didn't take too long to find myself a purple boss and 3 yellow bosses. These Mirage harvests get crazy juicy even early on in the Astrolabe. So this is the loot I got from 5 maps or 1 Astrolabe. I invested about 1.5 divines for those 5 maps, and this is around 9 divines of value in returns. That's actually not bad at all, although my build is still really slow at running this. I can use that to make a quick upgrade or two before we get back to it. So first I'll buy a Badge of the Brotherhood with min roll chance to lose frenzy charges, and a Will Clash with max rolled LE damage per power charge and the +1 max power charge corruption. The Badge of the Brotherhood makes my max frenzy charges equal to my max power charges, and thanks to the Elegant Hubris that I got earlier, I'm generating frenzy charges often. Combo that with the additional power charge I'm getting from my new Will Clash, and that means I'm up to 13 power charges, which now means I'm up to 13 frenzy charges as well. That's a ton of cast speed and damage. I'm also anointing that badge of the Brotherhood with 2 black oils and an opalescent oil, giving me As the Mountain, providing 12% attack block and 3% max attack block, a really nice defensive buff. If you're enjoying the video, remember to like and subscribe. It means a huge amount and it really helps the algorithm do its thing with helping others find my video. Thank you so much. Lastly, I brought up a Frostblink of Wintry Blast, just to speed up movement a bit. The anointing of it doesn't really matter for now, as long as it's nothing that triggers it, or something that changes how it functions like Spell Totem or Mines. Doing Harvest like this does actually feel pretty decent, but it can be really RNG heavy at times. I guess the same goes for Crop Rotation though. My main problem right now is that my build is still moving a little slow, and this is a strat that depends on you fully clearing the map. I'd probably do a lot better at this strat with a bit more investment in the build. So I did another 15 maps and this is the loot. A pretty decent amount of juice to be fair. Trading it all in for Chaos and Divines leaves me with 26 Divines. So from 15 maps, that's around 1.7 Divines per map, with around a 75c investment per map. Yeah, that's really not too shabby, and I definitely wasn't doing this effectively. There's some really good potential here with Harvest and the new Astrolabes. I'll spend some of that profit on a bunch of max roll spell damage Malachai's loot, and I'll Foul Orb all of them, trying to hit the 5% chance to block implicit. Okay, fine, I'll just buy one, god. Fucking 10 Divines for one that's not even max rolled, fucking shit. Then I'll buy a max rolled crit multi Foulborn Ramirez Banquet, and use 20 unstable catalysts on it to get it to 30% crit multi. And since it's cheaper to buy a Calandra's Touch than it is to do that again, I'll buy one of those. Also, what the hell even is this? This guy is selling huge amounts of every T0 and high value T1 unique for like a quarter of the price? I could just spam buy everything here and make like 100 Divines right now, but this is so suspicious. Let me know in the comments if you actually have an idea of what's going on here, because I have suspicions, but I have never seen this before. Anyways, I'll grab another level 3 Enlighten for my Tempest Shield and Clarity setup, and also an upgrade for my Graven Secret Belt, trading in my boring plain one for a fancy new Crit Multi Corrupted one. Lastly, I'm going to use some of the currency I've got left here to quality up all of my gems to 20%. That's something I've been meaning to do. And also put quality on my flasks. Thank you, Jonesy. And with all that, I'm going to change up the strat to some lower investment breach, but not exactly for currency. I'm going to be using 2 Scarabs of Instability, 1 Beyond Scarab of Invasion, and 2 Scarabs of Adversaries on maps with at least 40% pack size, with the goal being to farm XP and level up, with a little bit of currency along the way of course. I said a little bit of currency along the way, what the hell is that? I'm not gonna lie, I can't really see much in these maps. What the hell is even going on? Hello mum, can you pick me up? I'm scared. Ooh, a black buyer. Never mind mum, I'm good, leave me here. We've been farming XP so that we could hit level 95. This gives us enough passive points to be able to respec the tree and get a second cluster jewel set up. So, same as in episode 1, I'm looking to buy some 8 passive cold cluster jewels. Then I can roll them all to have Blanketed Snow and 4 mods in total, and then I can miss all of them with Fracturing Orbs, forcing me to do that whole process again, slowly making my eyes bleed because Alteration spam is agony. Got it! And there's a couple others here that I missed that might still sell for something. Now I can Alt Regal spam until I hit Widespread Destruction and Prismatic Heart. Sadly, Fossils and Harvest aren't as good as Alt spamming here, so we're kind of stuck doing it this way. There it is! Now we just need to Exalted Orb it. Wait, isn't that the exact same roll as the one we made in episode 1? Oh, of course it is. They call me Mr. Consistency. Next up, I can buy a medium cluster jewel with pressure points, quick getaway and some resistances, and then another medium cluster jewel with vast power and magnifier and some more resistances, both costing 1 divine each. I can then slot both of those in the tree. You might be wondering why I'm stacking so much AoE. Well, Winter Orb works in an interesting way. It fires out its projectiles at an enemy in a spread pattern around them, creating a mini AoE damaging effect wherever it lands. We need enough area of effect multiplier to ensure that enough of these projectiles overlap when targeting a single enemy. This is really difficult to calculate, but luckily we don't have to. Reddit user Tenshoes did a full breakdown of this over a year ago, where he tested all of it, including with uniques that make your projectiles fire in a circle around you. His findings show us that there isn't a consistent difference between a 2.4 and 2.6 meter radius when targeting a single zombie enemy. Keep in mind that this is a very small hitbox enemy, and will rarely be doing any single target damage against something so small. This means that as long as we stay above a 2.4 meter AoE radius, then we're good. That being said, I am trying to get even more AoE, as we're doing a lot of map clear strats, and all of that AoE not only helps our Winter Orb clear packs, but also makes our Herald of Ice explosions way bigger. When we reach the highest level of investment, we can start to drop some of this AoE, as long as we stay above that 2.4 radius. And we're constantly checking our AoE radius by using POB. One of the clusters I missed the Fracture on just sold for 7 Divines. Apparently Fractured Doriani's Lesson is also worth quite a bit of money. I can use those Divine Orbs to fill the jewel slots in my new medium cluster jewels. I'm going to be getting a Forbidden Flame and a Forbidden Flesh with the Mastermind of Discord Ascendancy from the Elementalist. This will provide me with 25% additional exposure on enemies, as well as a small amount of mana regen. With all these changes, mapping has become incredibly smooth. I mostly just hold down right click and spam Frostblink of Wintry Blast to get round, and everything just kind of explodes in front of my eyes. I rarely die, although I am prone to one-shots from bosses since I'm quite reliant on block. We're somewhere between 40 and 50 divines in terms of investment, and we are blasting. And there's still some really huge changes that completely rework parts of the build. One big upgrade I need to get is a Winter Orb imbued with Power Charge on crit, so I've been leveling some gems in my weapon swap to imbue. Let's poke more with a coin. Okay, that's nothing, and I mean, increased AoE is kinda useful, I guess, but eh. I continued with the XP maps and I found a Black Barrier, another Black Barrier, and a late card, which I don't think I've ever had drop before. That leaves me with enough schmeckles to buy a decent Watcher's Eye. The two mods that I wanted here were the Elemental Pen with Zealotry and the Energy Shield on hit with Discipline. The Energy Shield recovery rate was just a nice bonus that will help my Leech Energy Shield recover a bit faster. So I had to include this clip. Me and my group of friends have around 40,000 hours of playtime on PoE collectively, but nobody has ever dropped a mirror. Well, at least outside of Affliction League, which doesn't really count. My friend Zaz has been farming Breach hard this league to try and get one, and we made a joke about the streamer client being real, so I joined him for one map, and this happened. Did you see it? Did you see that? So first of all, huge grats to Zaz, mate, you worked insanely hard for that mirror. Secondly, if anyone has any questions about the streamer client being real, let those suspicions be put to rest. This was like 45 seconds into the only map I joined in for. GGG explained this immediately. So with that wacky ending, I think it's about time to wrap up episode 2. We've still got some huge upgrades to make, and this build is going to be pumping big damage numbers very soon. So I really hope to see you in episode 3. Thanks for watching, guys.